Past, before those countries were founded, these areas were inhabited by approximately 75 Slavic tribes. Today we are going to take a look at the biggest regional tribes. Obotrites were a confederation of medieval Western Slavic tribes that inhabited areas of today's North Germany. Leti were a group of medieval Leti tribes living just below the Obotrites. They were often referred as Wends, or Surbi were early Slavic tribe in Lower Lusatia that were also part of the Wends. In the 7th century, the tribe was part of Samos Empire. The tribe was last mentioned in the late, not talking about popular dog breed Pomeranian, but Slavic tribe who lived along the shore of the Baltic Sea. Word Pomerania comes from Slavic pomore, meaning land at the sea. Pomeranian tribes formed after the 6th century, although throughout the history multiple nations such as Denmark, Saxons, Holy Roman Empire and Poland tried to incorporate their land into their realms. They've always regained their independence until the region was finally split between Poland and Germany. West Polans, derived from Old Slavic word pole meaning field or plain, were part of Lehti group. In the 9th century, the Polans united several West Slavic groups to the north of the Great Moravia. The union developed into the Kingdom of Poland, whose name, believe it or not, derives from exactly this tribe. Silesians were as well Lehti group inhabiting territories of Lower Silesia near Sieja mountain and Sieja river. Their name comes exactly from the area they were living in, since in Old Polish word szlaga means humid, which refers to the climate of the area. Masovians, they were also part of Lehti tribes and were living in the region of Mazovia. Vistulans were an early medieval West Slavic tribe inhabiting western part of the modern Lesser Poland. In the 9th century, they created tribal state, but were soon dominated by Czechs that forced them to accept baptism. In the late 10th century, the land became controlled by the Polans and was incorporated into Poland. Czechs were a West Slavic tribe that, according to the popular myth, came with forefather Czech who settled at the Rip mountain during the 9th and 7th centuries. The Duchy of Bohemia emerged in the late 9th century, and since then Czechs have dominated the region. Consequently, the country Czech Republic has emerged. Moravians were a West Slavic tribe in the early Middle Ages. Although it is not exactly known, it's claimed that the tribe was formed between the 6th century to the 7th century. In the 9th century, Moravians settled mainly around the historic region of Moravia and western Slovakia, but also in parts of Lower Austria and Upper Hungary. Slovaks were as well part of West Slavic tribes in the early Middle Ages. Western Slovakia was part of Samos Empire that was situated in present-day Moravia, Lower Austria and Slovenia in the 7th century. Carintanians were Slavic people of the early Middle Ages and are considered to have been one of the ancestors of modern Slovenians. After the segmentation of Samos realm, Alpine Slavs established the Principality of Carantania in the year of 660. A little bit over a century later, Carantania fell under Bavarian zone and was incorporated in the Frankish Empire. Croats were one of the South Slavic tribes. Evidence about Croat settlements in the period between 7th and 8th centuries is rather scarce, since almost all the settlements in the Dinaric hinterland were abandoned or destroyed. Croat tribes are believed to have lived mainly in coastal Dalmatia and Istra. Serbs were South Slavic tribe that was formed in the early Middle Ages between the 6th and 7th century. They, as some other Slavic tribes, absorbed Paleo-Balkan peoples and established various states throughout the Middle Ages. 7 Slavic tribes. The 7 Slavic tribes were a union of tribes in the Danubian plain that was established around the middle of the 7th century. They took part in the formation of the First Bulgarian Empire together with the Bulgars in the 680 till 681. Since 7 Slavic tribes were established, they faced attacks from the Byzantine Empire until they won a major victory over the Byzantine troops in the spring of 681. Dragoviti. Very little is known of this South Slavic tribe, except that they were one of the biggest regional tribes in modern-day Republic of Macedonia, southeastern Serbia and West Bulgaria. Vayuniti. Same goes for this tribe. Due to very few formations and evidence, we can only assume they've inhabited this area between the 6th and 8th century.
Languages are a lot more similar to each other than Germans to English or Italians to French, for example. Before we head into why they are so similar to each other, let's take a look at a few examples so you won't think I'm full of shit. Let's first check how to say in Slavic languages things such as I am, you are and we are. So in Slavic languages, I am, you can say ja sam, jasem, jestem, things like that. So you can see very similar. If we head into you are, you can see ti si, ti, again, very similar. If we head into the we are, we can also see mi, mi sme, mi smo, nisme. Again, very similar. Now let's choose random words for, let's say, objects, emotions and characteristics, activities. For word bread, in Slavic language we would use like kruh. In Slovenia or Croatia we would say chleb, in Russia, Ukraine and other countries. Beer, for example, pretty much the same in every country except for Bulgarians, they wanted to be a little bit special, bira, otherwise you use pivo. For word knife, we would say in every Slavic language almost the same. We would use nóż, nož, nož. Now if we went into the, how do you say good in Slavic languages, you would use dobro, dobri, pretty much that, only Russians would use хорошо. Also very similar. Evil, for example, you would say zlo, zli, zle, again very similar. Work, you would say работать, работа, raditi, pracovat. Only Slovenians decided they want to be different, like delati. Although I always thought that Russians say делati. That's actually not even similar, never mind. For example, talk, you would say pričati, mluviti, razgovarjati, pogovarjati, govoriti, hovorit. So again, the root of the word is basically the same in most of those languages. Also cheers, for example, sounds very similar in all the Slavic languages, so pivo and na zdrovje would be very useful in Slavic countries. So for example, you would say na zdrovje, živeli, na zdravje. Again, very similar. And there are a ton of other words that either sound exactly the same or similar in those Slavic languages. Now obviously those languages aren't the same, but they're really similar to each other, especially based on geographical position. Southern Slavic, for example, sounds more the same than West and East Slavs do, but although those people share many distances between each other, they still sound more of the same, especially to the people that isn't familiar with Slavic languages. Now why the f*** is that so? Germans don't really sound like Brits, do they?
Nein, 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 nein!
Voorname? Grzegorz Brzęczy-Stykiewicz. Brzęczy-Stykiewicz. Grzegorz.
Slavic languages really make a challenge for everyone.